I see you. You are the face of God. Look around you, more faces of God. Bless you. So I'm sitting there just enjoying, and then all of a sudden I think, I don't know where my talk is. I've got my notes. I've got to keep my notes. And just so much in the present, in the flow this morning, trying to be more present, that I didn't even know where my notes were. So, and then I can't help it. There's a part of me that really wants to show you what's behind the curtain. Shall I do it? Are you ready? Because what I'm hoping is that you can relate to it. So whenever you see us go back there, now you know what's actually going on back there. You need about 10 of those, yes, great screens there to hide it all. A grade school teacher was working with her class on the annual Thanksgiving pageant. The teacher wanted to make sure that everyone knew the meaning of it all, wanted to be sure that was clear, so she asked them now, boys and girls, who can tell us why the Pilgrims came to America. A boy raised his hand, and when he was called upon, he confidently declared, so that they could worship in their own way and make other people do the same. Yeah, we kind of do that, don't we? We've been here a while, and we're still working on that one. A farmer shared about the practice of raising your own holiday turkey. He says, some people are squeamish about it, but not him. One January, we bought a turkey who became like a member of the family. We kept him in the house, fed him, took him for walks. But when the time came, there was no nonsense about it. We had him for Christmas dinner. He sat on my right. That's my kind of turkey dinner. Okay, so this one is supposed to be true. A California scientist has computed that the average human being eats 16 times his or her own weight in an average year, while a horse eats only 8 times its weight. So you see the logic there, that it's best if you want to lose weight to eat like a horse. You'll have that opportunity, I'm sure, on Thursday. I don't know whether you've ever noticed here that this is always, well, not always, but it changes a lot, the different images and all that you see here on Sunday morning. But one thing is consistent. Does anybody know what that is? There is always the use of the lotus flower on Sunday mornings. So different colors, different sizes and shapes and different environments, but always a lotus flower. And this may indeed be a water lily, I don't know, but they're similar, and they do have similar meaning behind them. It's a sacred flower in both Hinduism and Buddhism, representing the path to spiritual awakening and enlightenment. So you see, it's a sort of brainwashing that we're trying to do on everybody here. Subliminal messages on Sunday morning. It's the lotus flower. So I wanted to share with you, the 3 of us, my husband, Barry, and my mom, always do reading meditation time together, in the morning. And the other morning, we read from the Science of Mind magazine. And for those of you who don't know, Science of Mind is really our sister organization. It falls under that umbrella of New Thought. And here is the message from that particular day. Without the low times in our lives, we wouldn't appreciate the highs nearly as much. Contrast is the fiber of our existence that holds it all together. That's from The Art of Being. And here's a quote from Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, which is now Centers for Spiritual Living. Negation may be an experience and a fact. It can never be an ultimate truth. Life cannot operate against itself. Always the negative is overcome by the positive. Throughout the ages, masters from many spiritual disciplines have described a universal principle that affects all living things in uniquely different ways. The heart throb of the universe is always pulsating in a manner that serves the evolution and ultimately the dissolution of all things. Goethe wrote, "Progress has not followed a straight ascending line, but a spiral with rhythms of progress and retrogression, of evolution and dissolution." Because we are one with life, we are part of this process, like it or not. Understanding and accepting that this principle of expansion and contraction is a natural part of our journey can help us make peace with the setbacks along the way. Unfolding a life of purpose and meaning is to understand that our personal evolution is a spiral, not a straight line. It's up and down, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, otherwise known as the cha-cha. That wasn't in there. So, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, small successes and colossal failures, significant wins and staggering losses, good days and bad days, soaring peaks and bottomless valleys, brilliant light and debilitating darkness. Can you relate to this? We can't have one without the other. We need the contrast of down to appreciate up. Whenever you may be on the spiral, wherever you may be on the spiral of life today, be it on a high or on a low, may you breathe deeply and remember that this too shall pass. This is how a living universe works. It's the pulse of the divine. It's an amazing thing to behold, knowing you are part of it all, isn't it? Today, I witness my life's journey as a work in progress. I mindfully take 2 steps forward and 1 step back with gratitude, knowing this too shall pass. So if you're in bliss right now, know that this too shall pass. If you're in the darkness, know this too shall pass. We know that wisdom. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. And yet, when we're going through it, why is it we forget? We forget all of that wisdom that's within us. And so, another reminder this morning. But I believe that the lotus flower is a great symbol of that. It comes from the mud and has to go all the way through the water to come up, and then it's so pure, like no, it's not been messed up at all by the muddy water or the mud. Here you have this beautiful bloom. You'd never know where it came from. The Christian mystic Meister Eckhart, born in the 13th century, said, if the only prayer you ever say is thank you, that would suffice. You know, this is a time, it seems, for some of us, of great loss. And maybe it's fair to say for all of us, because the last few years have been a real challenge in one way or another. Mostly just dealing with the highs and lows of our culture and of society. And so how do we handle that journey through the mud every day? Recently, I've talked many Sunday mornings about our different animals that we have at home. It really, you know, Barry goes around the house at night before he goes to bed, and he said, just checking on all the livestock, making sure everybody's in their place. And so, you know, at one time we had 2 cats and 2 dogs and a rabbit and a mouse. Were there other ones? It seems like there was a lot. And last year we lost one of our cats, we lost the mouse, but then we gained another mouse. And last week, our bunny, Roman, made his transition, hopped into the great beyond. And let me tell you, every loss brings a new experience of grief for me. Are you finding that? Do you have a list probably by now? Most of us do, a list of losses, a mile long. And it's like everyone reminds us that this is life, that this is the experience for everyone, and nobody gets out alive. Right? We're all going to have that experience of the transition into the great beyond. So we woke up on Tuesday morning last week, and Bunny just wasn't himself. And he's been having some health challenges. I mean, I'm talking about him like he's a person. Well, he is his own beingness. Anyway, I knew that he was dying. And I had plans that day, and I knew that the best thing for myself and for him and everyone was to follow through with my plans, even though I knew that he was passing. And I spent some time with him before I left, and it was within probably an hour of my leaving that he passed. It was a beautiful, beautiful place. If you don't know of this place, it's part of one of the funeral services in town. It's called All Pets Go to Heaven. So you can actually take your pet there when they pass, and they will work with you to do whatever kind of closing that you want to have. And we just wanted to have him cremated, and they do a little certificate of passing for you. And so you get some clip of the fur and a little paw print. And it was that broke me, of course. Barry and I went over to pick it up, and I decided that, I think I said something like, stop the train, I want to get off. You know, a little drama. I had to have my little moment of sadness and drama, even though I know the existence beyond and the power of the presence that Roman and everyone else who has stepped across that boundary is part of. And I like to think of them all as part of the wind. We've had a lot of that lately, right? What if you start thinking about the wind as prosperous and full of the love of the divine? Because we don't think of it that way, do we? I was just going to tell you all that's what happened to my hair. but I think you can tell that I actually stuck my finger in a light socket. No, actually, I got this bright idea. We have a friend who, she's our friend, she does hair, and I texted her the other night and I said, I think I would like a perm. She said, that's a great idea. Actually, I think she had had a little something to drink that night. When I was texting her and she was texting me back, she said, that's a great idea, let's do it, we can do it. And because it wasn't until I actually arrived at her home to get my hair done that she said, you know, perms are out. And I said, yeah, I wish you would have told me that when you texted me the other night about what a great idea this is. Anyway, no, I am happy with it. I am. And I will say that at one time in my life, an experience of a haircut that I didn't like was traumatizing. Did you ever go through that? Like, what happened here? And I want to go back and blame it on somebody. And today I smile. I smile when things don't come out just exactly as I planned. So that was a little bit of my diversion, but the lesson for today is entitled Thanksliving. Can we take this idea of Thanksgiving beyond just the Thursday turkey and pumpkin pie and whatever, all the good things about Thanksgiving, into our day-to-day life of being thankful for also the dishes that we have to wash after Thanksgiving, for that sluggish feeling after we've eaten too much and we think, why did I eat so much? As well as into the passing of a loved one. Because don't get me wrong, I did experience some good about Roman hopping into his next great adventure. Something you may not know about bunnies is they're a lot of work. And all of a sudden I have a little bit more time on my hands. And I'm blessed by that. Would I trade it to have this little black furry ball jumping around our house? Absolutely. And yet I am taught and I am trained and I prefer, and my life is about focusing on the good. Looking for it and finding it because it's there, no matter what. And so that is what I choose. Doesn't mean I don't grieve, doesn't mean I don't cry and blubber my way home from all pets go to heaven, but I choose to look at and focus on and take into each day, and preferably each moment. Doesn't always happen that way, but an appreciation for what is good in this moment. So here's a little bit of everyday gratitude for you. Think about this. The weeds need pulling. The windows need cleaning. That means I have a home. The electric bill is high. That means I have a warm home or a cool home, depending on the time of year. The clothes fit a little too snug. That means I have enough to eat. I have to pay taxes. That means I have an income. Our vehicles are both over 20 years old, and I am so grateful every time that we get into them and they start, and we're grateful to have transportation. And when I don't get the parking spot that's way up front, boy, am I grateful that I can walk that distance. The pile of laundry means I have clothes to wear. Giving thanks as a way of facilitating our good. Did you know that when we are in a state of gratitude, of appreciation and thankfulness, that we are creating a vibrational pull towards us of greater good, of more good? So it is not only just a way to be in the world and to feel better about who you are and your experience, but it is also a draw to your greater good. Here we may refer to it as prosperity, we call it abundance. And I think about a little trip that my mom and I made to Unity Village years ago. It was our first time at Unity Village. And just the simplest thing of not having a vehicle while we were there at the village and needing some bottled water. And someone happened to hear that, and they had a car, they were out getting some things, brought back water for us, and we're like, oh, well, we need to pay. No. Accept your good. And we all need to practice that a little bit more. Do you find that that it's very easy for you to give, but when someone tries to give to you, you want to resist that? And so our gifts, we don't want, when we want to give something, we don't want someone to say, no, I couldn't really, because they're blocking our opportunity to be in the flow of divine life, and it is the same with receiving. So important that we can remember these, especially as we are trying to bring more joy and more peace into our lives. So here's a lesson that Jesus actually taught us. I don't know whether you realize this or not, but if you were to go in and read about the different miracles that we read about Jesus, just before each of them, he gave thanks. And it's so odd that over the so many centuries that we have switched. We only give thanks after the fact. But isn't it possible that his giving thanks before what it was that he was praying for or about to do was the vibrational pull, the vibrational attraction that created the experience, the so-called miracle? Think about that in your life. What if before going into anything you gave thanks in advance for answered prayer? Before praying, thanks in advance. So this is actually part of what we call in Unity the creative principle. It's what we might call the creative process. That which we do to bring anything into our lives. And so now we know that how the importance of gratitude and thanksgiving in that process as well. So I'd like to share with you what Unity's co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, said about gratitude. Myrtle said, "If you have never practiced daily thanksgiving in your home, you have left unused one of the most potent factors available to you for bringing about ideal conditions in your home, in your life, in your household." Charles said, "Thanksgiving will keep the heart fresh, for true thanksgiving may be likened to rain falling upon ready soil," wonderful image there, "refreshing it and increasing its productiveness." So check in with yourself at this moment and think about where in your life are you lacking some appreciation and gratitude? I'd like to take a moment to express my appreciation for Barry and for Randy and Don Show, who is not here this morning, who actually went through this whole process of returning the projector that we had that wasn't working, getting a new one. And I think I mentioned last week that we paid the same for the new one as we got in a refund for the old one. But all that is involved in getting that thing up there and all the wires hidden and everything getting focused, and it's quite a process. If you would have been here just like a little over 12 hours ago, there's crap all over the floor and all over the chairs, wires hanging everywhere. So, bless you. These guys have heard me complain over and over again because I was having to get up on a ladder every Sunday morning and adjust that projector. And so somehow, apparently I was leaning enough towards gratitude and appreciation of them that I pulled in this new experience. And it really, gosh, you don't know, folks, when you're trying to put together a Sunday morning experience, any experience where people are coming together and you're wanting to share a powerful experience, how important the sound is and the lighting is. And I'm saying that to also appreciate our camera guy, Mike, back there. Please give him a hand. He shows up every Sunday morning. He is a teacher because I learned from him. And we are, believe it or not, I mean, things look great, I think, in this moment, and they're working great. But there's more. There's more that we want to do. And we see that. We are grateful knowing that it can be part of our experience, and now we know that it will. We trust and know that it will be part of our experience. We play a lot of music by Daniel Nahmod on Sunday mornings, and in a little bit we're going to play a song by him. And he is quite a wise person when it comes to divine inspiration. And he wrote a song, and actually this is the one we're going to play, but I want to just share a lyric with you first about that, because he's big on including in his songs both the light and the shadow. And for those of you who know our dear Bo, who now lives in Kansas, she attended a songwriting workshop with him at one point. And she shared her song with him, I Love My Life. Do any of you remember that? I love my life. Yeah. And he said, you have to put a little shadow in there. And isn't that interesting? And I think that's poignant this morning with the message, because it is true about life, and it's true about any good story, isn't it? That there is a challenge somewhere in the story that we overcome. So here are the lyrics. So this is, actually, let me just go ahead and show you the lyrics instead of reading them to you. I'm a visual person, so I appreciate for the light. So, O Father of my soul, thank you for the blessings of the day, for the light and the shadow, for the triumphs and trials, for the moment and mystery, for the sorrow and the smiles, for the peace and the conflict, for the silence and song, for the calm and confusion, for the winter and the warm. Can you find yourself appreciating both the light and the shadow, the triumphs and trials, the silence and the song, the calm and the confusion? I don't know about you, but I don't like confusion. for the winter and the warm. I don't know about you, but I don't like winter. So that is my work, and I'm inviting you into it this morning. And I'd like to close with a short video about the lotus flower.
Lotus originates from birth, but still lotus is the symbol of purity, enlightenment, self-regeneration and rebirth. The root of lotus gets covered in mud, but the flower rises above the surface of mud, piercing the mud inside out. And with beam of sunlight it becomes pure and beautiful. It is the symbol of purity, but the fact it grows on mud. In your journey called life, you will face situations where your surroundings won't be good and where you have to rise above the mud. For example, Leonardo da Vinci was grown up in society with violence, murder and other social crimes. The surroundings for him was mud. His society was mud for him, but he ended up as a non-violent person. He used to buy caged birds just to feed them, meaning don't blame your surroundings for your failure. Your success or your failure completely depends on you, not your surrounding. In your journey called life, no matter where you grow, just like lotus ending up becoming pure and beautiful even in mud, you have to rise above the mud. You have to stand out of the crowd. You have to make your own identity. This is be like a motivation, seeking motivation everywhere, every time and on everything. Wish you have a wonderful day.
Let's have a time of meditation. Imagining a view from the mud to the surface of the water. Let's breathe deeply for a moment as we relax into this time of meditation. As we may breathe a little bit more deeply, we may relax more into the chair. And whatever chatter there is in the mind, and maybe it's negative, we just release it now. We release as we realize that we are anchored even beneath the mud in the spirit of truth. The omnipresence of good and God. Good God. And now peering up from the mud and seeing the light. And knowing that this journey will have great difficulty. But the goal is always to surface or to resurface into the light, where we breathe deeper, where we feel stronger, where we feel more brilliant and bright and radiant, where we expand our petals and drink in the goodness of all that is. And we ask ourselves, what is mine to do as a lotus flower. And we realize that it's just be. And well, you say, Natalie, I can't just be. Yes, there is an aspect of us that is just being. And so at any time and at any moment, during any challenge, or even during those moments of bliss, we go back to that place of just beingness. Where we stop. And maybe we aren't in a place where we can stop and sit and meditate, but we can check in with our awareness of our beingness. That within which is still and silent, strong and at peace, loved and loving. And in these moments, we are strengthening our ability to do that. This is practice. And so breathe in an appreciation of this moment that will carry us through future moments. That is lifting us up to our greater good. Whatever that may be. Some we will consciously create, some we will create by default. And then we remember Thanksliving. A way of finding the good in all that is. A way of finding the good in the mud, in the muddy water, in the need to hold the breath until we resurface and reemerge as a greater part of us. It's that 2 steps forward. Today we know not to fear the step back. It's part of the dance. And I am grateful. And if you're feeling that sense of appreciation and gratitude, and even if you aren't, I invite you silently to affirm, I am grateful. And let us just take a moment in silence now to just be still and know. With the etheric sound of the native flute now pulling us back into this outer experience, but never leaving behind the beingness. And so it is. So it is. Thank you, thank you.